Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode. I'm your host, Arshel Branch, and before we go ahead and get started, I want to apologize for the beeping in the background. I saw the comments, and I'm aware, I know that it can get annoying. Trust me, it is annoying. I understand your plight with that one. I'm working on having that taken care of, so just bear with me on that. But today, you guys, we are going to talk about America First going up against the central banks and their monopoly on money, but not just the monopoly on money and where that's taking us into the future, but really what is money? Where are we headed? And how do our American politics play a role in that? If you've been watching my previous episodes, you can understand that the more and more I've been learning about finances and the history of our economics, the more I'm coming to this conclusion that no matter who's in office, I'm just starting to think that everybody's a puppet. Maybe are not aware, some of them, they genuinely care, they genuinely want to help the American people, they want to preserve freedom and prosperity. And here's the thing, money is a big part of that. So today, you guys, we are going to review the Bitcoin convention, specifically as it relates to former President Trump's speech at the Bitcoin convention. Now, there were a lot of people that were there, when you're talking about politics. I don't know if you guys know, this gentleman's name is Mark Moss. He has his own podcast. He's just recently done interviews with the Kitco YouTube channel. They are a particularly just an economics and financial news channel. You can find them all over YouTube. I think their content's really good. I really enjoy the work that they're doing because I'm learning a lot. If you're like me, you are a novice into this. So you'll listen to some of the big bankers, especially Jerome Powell, who is heading the Federal Reserve, and they'll just say a bunch of words, and we don't understand what it is that they're saying. And it's certainly, we feel the same way when we're talking about the Congress and the Senate. They create all of these different bills. They make law and finances so complicated that just every ordinary individual just doesn't know what any of it means. We don't know what inflation is, but we know it's bad for the economy. We know that unemployment, because that's the word everybody knows, we know that is obviously bad. We know that high interest rates are bad, but do we really fully understand what that means? And how does cryptocurrency really play a role in that? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play the first clip, the first part, I should say, of President Trump's speech, because there's a lot of things that he said. We're not going to cover the whole thing because I believe it is over 30 minutes. So we're not going to cover the whole thing, but there are some parts that were kind of intriguing. If you are a geek, particularly a Star Trek geek, then you're going to appreciate some of the things that he said. And if you're a crypto holder like myself, then you are also going to find this kind of fascinating. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to roll that first clip for you guys, just so we can start this conversation going. You can see where my head is.
Because we have to talk about crypto, we have to talk about Bitcoin, we have to talk about all these great companies. But our country is blessed to have the extraordinary talent, energy, and genius represented in this room. It really is great genius. Not all of you, but most of you, many of you. But this is the kind of spirit that built America, and this is the spirit that's going to help us make America great again. That's what we're doing. I stand before you today filled with respect and admiration for what the Bitcoin community has achieved. It's incredible, actually. I sort of say to my sons, it's like incredible because they know so much about it. They're so aware of it, much more so than people that are a little bit older. But I say, this is the steel industry of 100 years ago. It really is. I think you're just in your infancy. I can see it happening.
So he said that, there are a few things that he said. So first things first, he was suggesting that his sons, no, well, not the first thing, but, part of that, his sons are very much involved and they are aware of what's happening with cryptocurrency, especially what's happening with Bitcoin, and that he's now viewing this as the modern steel industry, that somehow this was just an idea and now it's something that has morphed into something bigger. I remember when it wasn't 50 million people on Bitcoin. There was only a few people, and totality of the amount of Americans that were actually on this was just a couple of million. It was nowhere near 50 million of people who are involved and who are crypto holders. But the fact that you have so many Americans who are involved in this is kind of a remarkable thing. He also hints at this idea that cryptocurrency is going to play a role in making America great again. And, one of the complaints, I don't know if it was a complaint really, but one of the suggestions is that Bitcoin convention became highly politicized because of the speeches that were given. Now, first off, let's talk about who was there. I fast forwarded so because I didn't necessarily want to play that part, but you had people like Senators Tim Scott, you had Rand Paul, you had Vivek Ramaswamy, and there were a few other people who were there as well. I wonder if Senator Loomis was there because, to be frank, she's the crypto queen. This is what a lot of Bitcoin holders and a lot of crypto holders are referring to her as because she values cryptocurrency in a way that most of the government officials just really don't. And remember, there was a time when President Trump said that this was not real, that he didn't like it. He thought it was stupid. He didn't fully grasp the concept of what cryptocurrency is. We know that Vivek is behind this. We know that his vice president pick, JD Vance, is behind this. His sons were talking about it. And then somewhere down the line, apparently, obviously we know President Trump released NFTs. I don't think it's because he thought that there was any real value to crypto. I just think he knew that he could make money off of it. He's the money man. And so that's part of it. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to continue running this clip because, again, there's so much more here that I really want to touch on. So let's go ahead and continue this, shall we?
In just 15 years, Bitcoin has gone from merely an idea posted anonymously on an internet message board to being the ninth most valuable asset anywhere in the world. Can you believe that? Is that right? That's a big deal. Think of that. It's already bigger than ExxonMobil. Soon it will be surpassing the entire market cap of silver. It's not bad. How about gold? How about gold? Let's go gold. And one day it probably will overtake gold, but based on the way it's going now, it could very well be a possibility. There's never been anything like it, and I don't think you've ever seen anything like it. And most people have no idea what the hell it is. You know that, right? So what happens when they figure it out? That's going to really be something. Bitcoin is not just a marvel of technology. As you know, it's a miracle of cooperation and human achievement. And a lot of relationships that are formed. I just did a meeting, a roundtable with a lot of the leaders, and it's amazing. There's a great camaraderie. It's really interesting. There's competition, but there's a relationship. There's a friendship that's developed with a lot of these people. I noticed it. I don't usually see that too often. I see the opposite, actually. They want to get each other. They want to kill each other. These guys have a great feeling. Very smart people, too. Congratulations on all that you've.
So this takes us to the Star Trek part of it. If you are a geek, then you understand what I'm talking about. So now here's the thing. If you're a Star Trek fan and you're also interested in finances, you kind of look at the Star Trek future and you think to yourself, there's no way a world like that could actually exist. That when you look at how they do things and their civilization functions, it's not that capitalism isn't a part of that. It's just, it's not the primary function of how their economy works. I mean, the name of their economy is called Trekonomics, right? So it's a futuristic kind of version of what we have here in the United States, where you have all of these different people, these innovators, cultures, all playing a role in adding value to their civilization, where everyone has something to offer and everyone benefits from that. Some people would say it seems very socialist, which I totally understand, because as someone who doesn't like socialism, doesn't like communism, you would think that the way that that future is described, that's exactly what you would be getting at. But no, it's very similar to the principles and the concept of Leonardo da Vinci's Last Supper, that everyone brings something to the table, everybody eats, right? That's kind of the idea. If everyone brings something of value to your civilization, then everyone in the civilization should be able to benefit from that. And it's not so much at the core of this that it's competition. In fact, it's cooperation. And if there's anything that you've been able to recognize as it relates to cryptocurrency, is that even though Bitcoin has proven to be like the top notch out of all the rest of them, Ethereum would come second. Then obviously we know Elon Musk's he has Doge, there's SHIB, which there's some problems with SHIB. I have my opinions about that, but that's not what this episode is about. But there are these other tokens. There's Ravencoin, there's Strongblock, there's all these cryptocurrencies, and so many people are involved in it, not just from holding the token on platforms like Coinbase and others, but also involved as it relates to mining and hosting nodes and opening data centers. So there's so much involved in cooperation among business owners and great minds involving finances and technology And so much in engineering. I mean, there's just so much. There's such a real cooperation here that you didn't think could actually exist across industry, especially in the 21st century. There's the first time where you've seen cooperation amongst these industries, and then the fact that there is multiple currencies that coexist, and though they may be trying to be better than the other, I think Elon likes the idea of Doge getting up there in numbers. Ethereum is trying to get its numbers up there as well, though they're all trying to be the best token available in society, knowing full well that they're never going to be Bitcoin. Like, any token that comes out is never going to be Bitcoin. At least we just know that, right? But even though they are aware of this, they coexist. Bitcoin is aware, Ethereum is aware, Doge is aware. They all know that they're never going to be able to be Bitcoin, and Bitcoin knows that there is no competitor to it. And yet they find ways to coexist and cooperate. And all the crypto hodlers really want is just the choice in currency. Now, I've said in previous episodes that we should be advocating as America First the choice in currency, because if you're looking at the history of how our society used to function, when you look at what the 13 colonies used to do, they used multiple different currencies. Okay, they used gold, they used silver, they used another money from another country, and they were doing just fine. I mean, they still had taxes to pay to the British king. That was still a part of their thing. They had multiple currencies, choice of currency. Businesses accepted these different types of currencies so that way they can make money, and that the consumer could get what they need, the services and the goods that they needed in order to be successful and to live the lives that they wanted to live. And taxes were still paid. So, again, taxes is a whole other conversation, but this is the thing. Traditionally, and again, this is what I'm in favor of, that if you have multiple currencies within a civilization, that the people will ultimately have the choice of which money they're going to use. And as long as your society has the ability to accept these transactions of different currencies, then the American people have true freedom and true autonomy. Because if you don't have control over the money that you use, what freedom do you really have in that? And he hints at the fact that there's such a cooperation amongst these cryptocurrencies, amongst these industries, to really make this work, that to make America great again, that true autonomy and financial freedom doesn't just go into saving your money, investing your money, and budgeting your money. All of these things are important. Looking into mutual funds, looking into IRAs, looking into 401ks. Don't just buy the hype of these TikTokers telling you that 401ks are nonsense. They are pretty decent, I would say. I think they're pretty decent when you look at the numbers, you look at the math. It really just depends on how much you're investing. Really, people, it's just math. But I would say that as important as those things are, how useful is it going to be if the Federal Reserve and central banks just decide that you shouldn't have access to it, that they just decide that all the money that you've been saving no longer has any real value because they've been killing that value. And what crypto is trying to do, what President Trump is acknowledging in this, is that there is an opportunity here for not just industries to coexist, not just for currencies to coexist, but also for the American people to have money and currencies that actually do right by them, that we have control over if we don't like what the business is doing. Because again, the Federal Reserve is not a federal institution. It is not government, okay? It's not government. It is a private industry. It's part of the private industry, okay? It is not government at all. We just assume because it's called federal, the Federal Reserve, that we think that's what this is, and it's not. It's not at all. And, President Trump has made a lot of money using the US dollar. So many other people have done very, very well making money, making the US dollar. Business owners are doing very well. I have tremendous respect for business owners knowing more about the US dollar, because here's the thing, this was specifically created to destroy us. And business owners, especially the very successful ones, whether you're talking about the small business owner, the medium-sized business owner, or the ones that become as big as President Donald Trump, or even look at Vivek, right? These are people who really benefited from that money. And so even if in the event that the US dollar loses some of its value, they may still have the opportunity of making something happen, because they've accumulated so much of this money that loses its value that they're going to be able to compensate for the rising cost of inflation, the rising cost of living. They're going to be able to make up the difference in that. Whereas every other American who has not been able to become as financially free and successful as that are going to be scrapping and fighting, as we see all the time. When there is a recession, crime goes up, unemployment goes up, because people are trying to make money. The excuse society, as Judge Judy refers to it, is just going to continue. Oh, they only did these terrible things because they were trying to help their mother pay the bills. They were trying to help their families. And, it's unfortunate and it's tragic. And I don't necessarily agree with the excuses, but this is just something I'll say this. I don't necessarily think that excuses are enough to not put people behind bars, especially if it involves murder, particularly rape being another one. But if these are the reasons that people are going to commit crimes because, why they robbed the store, right? Why they steal the old lady's purse, why you're going to see an increase of train robberies. Like you're just going to continue to see all these crimes, financial crimes, because people are going to be anxious to be making money. And this is kind of the point that I'm trying to get across is that, when money and currency loses the value, and you don't have enough of it to compensate for the increase in cost of living, then you're going to find yourself in a lot of problems. And cryptocurrency is proving to be a substitute for that. Now, here's the thing. As I said, as you can hear and see in the title of the episode, right? America First versus central banks. The person who's in charge of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, he just did a press conference talking about not cutting rates. And I don't know what any of this means. Again, I'm a novice. I'm still learning. And really, I'm stuck on the history of how the Federal Reserve came to be. Freemasons were behind this. The federal government handed over the responsibility of creating our money to the Federal Reserve. They've eliminated certain things like the gold standard. And there's so much to learn that you're trying to navigate your way through this. And all I can come to the conclusion is that the Federal Reserve is not our friend. And now there was somebody who worked for Jerome Powell who got caught up with James O'Keefe. I don't know if you guys know this person, but really what he does is he sends out, I call them honey traps, to be honest, to, get cozy up to some of the people who work in the institutions of our government in some industries, just so they can get the information to the American people and let us know, are these people actually trustworthy? And so I'm going to show you that clip so you can actually see what it is that we're actually up against. Let's go ahead and let's run that clip, shall we?
Talking about Jerome Powell, who you work.
Go ahead.
Hey, actually works for me. My name is James O'Keefe. We're doing a story on the Federal Reserve, and you're on tape talking about Jerome Powell, who you work for, and you're saying that his legacy is to stop Trump. So I just wanted to get some more information about what you meant by that.
I never said that. I never said that.
He's doing it for the legacy. He wants to be remembered in history as like.
You think he wants to be remembered for what he's done? He wants to go down in history.
Yeah.
As what?
As somebody who held the line against like Trump.
I can quote you if you'd like.
No, I never said that. I would never say that.
So you would never say that. And it's like, so, obviously he didn't play it for him just then. It's like he's saying he didn't say that. What I want people to understand is what this gentleman was saying in that previous recording that this gentleman is showing, O'Keefe is showing him, is that what's happening here is you got caught saying that the head of the Federal Reserve wants to go down in history as someone who stopped President Trump. But again, there's the thing. If you listen to Donald Trump and his speeches, what does he say? That they're not coming for me because of me. They're coming for me because I care about you. And so the Federal Reserve, knowing that they have this power, they have this control over our markets, over the job creation, over the unemployment rates, over the money that we use in our civilization. And not just here in the United States. There's so many other countries that utilize our money as a reserve to back their money, that they are the ones who are in control of this. And anyone who wants to be in favor of freedom and financial autonomy, well, they're going to be a problem. And that's what this gentleman was saying in the date with the honey trap, that Jerome Powell, the head of the Federal Reserve, wants, in fact, to have complete control. He likes the idea of pushing central bank digital banking currencies. Those are CBDCs. He likes the idea of going down in history as someone who wants to destroy President Trump. Now, again, I'm not saying that Bitcoin is going to be the savior of our money or our currency. I have my questions, and we're going to get into that a little bit further. But the reason why this is so concerning to me is that this is how much I don't like President Trump. And again, he's just a man. Let's not make him a deity for freedom in America, right? Our one and true Lord and Savior, our true Savior is Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior. And if you're a person of faith, then you kind of have an inkling of what time we're in. And so cryptocurrencies are just concerning to me, period. But the idea that you have the American people, you have innovation among business owners and industries and people actually talking about a cooperation of currencies, which again, only really existed in science fiction. I mean, come on, a cooperation rather than competition. I mean, you see that with with cryptocurrency, with business and industry. There's mining engineering, there's computer programming, there's financial economists and financial advisors. People are creating new ways where people can invest, creating new monies that people can put their money in. And if we can actually implement this technology into society where people have other options other than the US dollar to purchase their necessities, then you would have essentially taken us back to the tradition of multiple currencies, choice of currency, so we can take control over our lives. So actually, I'm going to stop playing this clip. I will link these videos in the description box so that way you guys can go out and see this yourself, because here's my thing. I have my concerns about cryptocurrency. When I first learned about cryptocurrency, I was very skeptical. Oh my goodness, Bitcoin is going to be the money of evil. It's going to be the mark of the beast. It's going to be all these terrible things. Then the more research I did, I learned that there were other tokens. There was Ethereum, there was Doge, there was all these other tokens. There were, IoT tokens, which it means Internet of all things, meaning that you're using the internet to power up the blockchain, not energy and gas like you see with Bitcoin. Ethereum had something similar, but then they switched that and people pulled off. I mean, there's just so much. My concern is, which takes me to one of the reasons why President Trump didn't like crypto from the very beginning. He doesn't think it's real. The fact that it's digital. The fact that it is digital. I think that is our biggest concern here. Now, I want tangible money. I like cash. I'm not saying it has to be the US dollar. It doesn't have to be the US dollar. In fact, I would love nothing more than for the Federal Reserve to go away, for them to first pay back the debt, for the US government to pick up the responsibility which was supposed to have before the Federal Reserve even started, control over the money, creation of the money, not giving it to the people with interest on top of if the government creates it, it's ours. So if you give us money, it's because it's ours. There's no loaning. There's no debt associated with this money. But that's exactly what the Federal Reserve did. Look at every cash dollar you have, people. It may have an American president on it. It may say the US dollar, but right above where it says US dollar, it says Federal Reserve note. That means it's not the US money. It's theirs. Federal Reserve is nothing more than a private entity, no different than Bitcoin. And if Trump wants to make this the reserve of the world, why am I to believe that this money is not going to be utilized no differently than the US dollar? And frankly, I do not think that our security and our safety for financial freedom is in digital currencies. I don't care if it's essential banking, digital currency, any more than I care if it's something that is completely freeing, like Bitcoin or Ethereum or Doge. I'm sorry. There is no true privacy like there is in the cash dollar, because no matter how much of it I have in my wallet, you just don't know. You have no idea. You have no idea how many quarters I may have lost in a purse somewhere or stashed away in one of those water bins like you used to do when you were a kid. You have no idea how much cash I have in my wallet. And I'm supposed to believe that somehow that privacy is supposed to translate over into cryptocurrencies. Now, there's more to this, and he's obviously come to the realization that there may be some autonomy here, that there's some anonymity here that people feel safe about. And that's a good thing, I guess. That's a good thing. But I agree with G. Edward Griffin, the writer and author of The Creature from Jekyll Island. He's the author, and the book that I read, it was that particular book that told me that these people are just evil, that the Federal Reserve is just something that should never have existed. And if you go back far enough to people during the Depression who blamed them, they wanted reforms on the banking, and they allowed the bankers, who some of them were Freemasons, again, there's something to that, who created something that was meant to destroy us, something that was meant to harm us. And I don't like the idea of central banks. I don't like the idea of CBDCs, but I certainly don't like the idea of just digital currencies, period. Now, the reason why I think it's such a great thing of seeing President Trump actually get behind the 175 million people who are involved in cryptocurrency just entirely, that's an amazing thing. I'm happy to see that he's starting to go towards that kind of financial freedom. And I mean, like, really, because autonomy in our money is everything. And if you are a Christian or a Catholic and you believe in the Bible and you believe in the prophecy that is unfolding before our eyes, we see it happening. The Lord's truth is marching on. We see that happening. Why am I to believe that Bitcoin isn't going to be the token that is the only money you're allowed to use if you're going to buy and sell? Why am I to believe that the tap pay through Bitcoin? Because when you're still learning about your faith and the scripture, how am I supposed to know? Which is why I want the cash. I believe that privacy is something that we should actually have. And to be frank, I don't think that us millennials or Gen Zers have really ever had that. You didn't have it as children for obvious reasons. You're children, your parents are going to look after you. You know, you may be able to close your door, but they can just walk in whenever you want, whenever they want. You have no real privacy as a child. And as an adult, well, we grew up in the most technologically advanced civilization in the history of mankind. So, well, what does privacy really mean? We don't know. We think privacy are locked doors. That's what we think privacy is. We don't understand that the fact that Google can track us online is a problem. We don't understand that when you download TikTok for a while there, China was able to track you all over the internet, that they can steal your data. You have no real protection. And they put out these false securities. And we have VPN and all these other places that can try to protect your data, but we don't really understand what privacy really means as millennials or Gen Zers, because to be honest, we've never truly had that. Not only are they trying to eliminate our privacy rights, but they're also trying to eliminate the autonomy that we have with our money. And here's the thing, the money was never ours to begin with. And the idea that you can have a cooperation amongst industries and business owners and currencies, there is something really remarkable about that. Now, if we can see currencies create tangible money associated with their money, like if Bitcoin came out with a banknote, oh my goodness. And if you saw Doge come out with a banknote, oh my goodness. Bitcoin will be the version of the $100 bill. Doge could be the $5 bill. Ethereum could be the version of the $10 bill. I want autonomy in our money, but I also want choice of currency. Right now, we just have choice in transactions, meaning you can use cash, the credit card, which credit card's problematic, debit cards, but they're all still linked to the same damn money. They're all still linked to the Federal Reserve, central banks, which they're, again, predicting that we're going to be heading into a damn financial crisis anytime soon. They're going to hold it off, I believe. Jerome Powell and the head of the Federal Reserve are going to hold it off just so they can say it's Donald Trump's fault, that anybody who is against tough regulations, that if we try to do anything to go up against them, that we are extremists, that we are problematic. They want to say that we're communists because we think that people could just do well if we didn't have all of this debt, that everybody could be living just fine if we didn't have all the problems that we have with our money. That mathematically speaking, if there's a multiple choice of currencies, the chances of inflation would be incredibly low, because if one money sucks, we're just going to go to the next one or the next one and the next one. If the person who created this money does something about it that we don't like, as you saw with Ethereum, people are just going to pull their time, their energy, their resources off the blockchain and put it somewhere else. But now if we could do that with cash, this would be better. I don't want central banks. I don't care who does it. If Texas government wants to rival against the Federal Reserve, that's going to be amazing. They want to create their gold-backed digital currency. We're going to talk about that in another episode. That's amazing. But give me the Texas note associated with it. I want cash because, again, there is no privacy. There is no privacy that could truly exist if the only money you have are digital. I'm just not convinced. No one's going to convince me of that. And I don't think I'm crazy or an extremist because I want to get rid of the Federal Reserve, have them pay back the debt, see them arrested and charged with the financial crimes that they've committed against us from the very beginning, okay? Responsible for the Great Depression. They were responsible for the recession in the 1970s, forcing women to go into work when some of them didn't want to. They were responsible for the 2008 economic collapse. They are now responsible for the collapse that's underway. And the fact that they can sit here and say that it's not going to happen now, that it may not happen for a couple, this is not an accident, people. It's not an accident. And I know that I kind of just went in on the Federal Reserve and, what does the Federal Reserve have anything to do with Bitcoin? Well, if they don't like Trump, as in that last video I showed you, that if the goal is to go after Trump and people like him, because further in that video, guys, he's pretty much suggesting that they discriminate against conservatives. And so that with a CBDC, they would be able to deny people with different opinions from getting access to their money. Imagine being the conservative, America First conservative, and 30 years from now, you're older, you're in your 60s. Right? You're in your 50s and your 60s, you're looking for your retirement, and they say, oh, well, we don't like you because you're a Christian. We don't, and this can swing either way, folks. It doesn't even matter if you are a lefty, okay? Because if the conservatives get in there and they have control over the money and they say, oh, we don't like you because you believe in transgenderism. Well, guess what? The conservative can just say, well, you won't have access to your retirement plan to keep up with your Well, I guess you won't need puberty blockers anymore at that point. You would have used so much of them. But the fact that we would just be able to do that to you, right? I mean, this really is a conversation between you and the big guy upstairs. We have nothing to do with this. You want to be an adult and mutilate yourself, and you want to use your money to do it, you should have the choice in doing that. Society has fallen so far from morality that you have the option. Liberty exists so you can be ridiculous. And so that's where we are today in America, that liberty and freedoms exist so people can be ridiculous. That's what we think. I don't think that's the case for majority. The loudest voices are putting that out there. And so ultimately, if someone just doesn't like who you are, what you think, what you believe, that they can just say you will not have access to society, period. Well, then you're going to have problems. And again, if you're a Christian and you see where we're headed, then there's going to be that time when the money comes down and says, if you don't engage with this mark, you cannot buy or sell. Why am I to believe that digital currencies are not going to be those marks? I prefer cash. I want cash. There's privacy. There's some security in that. I don't want to, it could be false security. I could be nonsensical about that. I don't know. I'm still learning about those things. I'm still engaged in the history of these things. But all in all, folks, is that you have an entity that is a private business who has complete control and a full monopoly over our money, that are determining the value of our lives simply by destroying the value of our money. They've been responsible for these things since the days of the Great Depression. This country has a history of fighting central banks, and we just decided to stop fighting them in the previous century. That's what's happened. And it's just getting worse. And Trump says he's going to do something about it. Bitcoin says they're going to do something about it. There are millions of crypto holders. And so if you're a crypto holder, first of all, I think you know who to vote for. Because in that whole convention, when Trump was talking, he's talking about how Kamala Harris and whoever her VP pick is are just not going to be in favor of whatever it is that Bitcoin and other currencies are trying to do. That so far in these last few years that they have been pushing for CBDCs, and that these are very terrifying implications because these stem all the way from Davos and the World Economic Forum by Klaus Schwab. We create the future. I mean, he sounds like a bad guy. And I'm not one of these people who say anti-hero bad. No, we're talking like super villain Klaus Schwab. That's what he sounds like. You thought George Soros was bad. My goodness. This is outrageous. It's outrageous. These people do not value freedom and liberty. They believe themselves to be gods and deities of money and how our societies should function. They believe in transhumanism and destroying civilizations. Understand, folks, we are not the only country who is suffering from these decisions. Japan, $13 trillion in debt. You think they're going to be able to pay it back? Of course not. That's never been the intention. China is now doing the same thing to other countries, forcing them into debt, these countries are offering collateral, which really is just mineral rights, access to the energy resources of these countries because you can't afford to pay back the debt. Our countries are suffering and they're bringing us closer to centralization. And I'm not entirely convinced that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies can't be, brought along for the ride in such a journey. At the same time, it is very nice to see that there is such a cooperation that exists of great minds, of great work ethic, of great people who really want to just make America free in its entirety. And that is what our founders believed in. That is what our ancestors fought for. And we shall see how this continues. Of course, is this going to be on the debate stage between Kamala Harris and President Trump? If there's a debate, we shall see. Obviously, we know Trump and J.D. Vance are fully behind this. We know Vivek is behind this. There are so many people who, if you go all over YouTube, you're going to find crypto people, and not just the ones who get paid to talk about it. Because frankly, I don't get paid to talk about cryptocurrency. I think it's really innovative. I think it's really cool. There are some aspects about it that I like. Really, it's the underlying technology. But we shall see. If you like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitter under at Archie_finance. You can follow me on LinkedIn at rshelbranch. I'm actually going to start putting out some op-eds on LinkedIn. So if you are interested in reading more about my learning experience about finances and the economy, you go ahead and you head over to LinkedIn and you follow me over there. And, get in the comment sections and tell me what you think. First of all, do you think cryptocurrency is going to be the savior of our economy? I don't, but I'd like to see if you do. What do you think about President Trump actually saying that he's going to do everything he possibly can to protect this currency and other currencies like it, really to protect the market in its entirety? Because here's the thing, I like crypto, but really because I'm in it for the fiat. I'm in it for the cash. I just want the cash. I like that I can make more of it faster. I like that I can day trade with way less than $25,000. That's obviously a benefit because you can't day trade on the stock market with without $25,000. So opportunities exist with this. So let me know what you guys think about that. So go ahead, get in the comments, let me know, subscribe to the channel, like this video so you can help out with the algorithm, and thank you all for listening. And, keep up with the scripture, keep up with the Bible, because I do believe we're in that time, and we're going to need to know as much as we possibly can, especially if we're heading towards a time of just straight digital currencies. Let me know what you think about that. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for listening. Again, I apologize for the beeping. You all have a good one. Good night. God bless, and Kepla.